people want to know that this is a good product and it's not fake and that people get value out of it. So you have to show real people using it in that situation. So it's just a different medium now. Instead of it on an infomercial of someone talking about this cool lotion, now it's just an influencer filming herself with an iPhone talking about a cool lotion.
I was selling domain names in my school just to get some money, But I think I was like 16 or 17. We have like a police raid,
I started getting checks like at some point of people paying 10, 20 grand a month.
They were advertising so much on TV, consumers would go and look for more information online, and that's where I scooped them up.
They needed some international SEO advice, and they got in touch with me, right? So
I spent north of $30 million myself on Facebook ads.
I knew that I have something that's extraordinary, that we can scale this because it's super hard to copy this product.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Conversations with a Marketer. My name is Chad Wilton, and today's guest I have on is none other than Savannah Sanchez of Savannah Social. She was one of our breakout speakers for Affiliate World Asia last year. She was rated top speaker of the show. Today, she's joining us to talk about different traffic sources, different approaches to creatives for e-commerce clients, and we even go through, she walks me through the steps on how she approaches user-generated content, and I get to butcher it here on the show. So for any reason alone, that's why you should be watching. Otherwise, hope you enjoy this next episode of Conversations with a Marketer with Savannah Sanchez.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you, Chad.
Well, Savannah, one thing I really like to do when we go on these, with the Conversations with a Marketer is I like to dig deep and kind of figure out what the TSN turning points were for marketers, because, and I say this every time, it's always a unique, different, and sometimes hilarious story. Everyone has different beginnings, whether they went to school for something and potentially it was in marketing or potentially it was in biology, and it snowballed from some weird happenstance. So what I'd like to ask you is, did you go to school for marketing, or what was like that point where you were first exposed to online industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did go to school for marketing. My undergraduate degree was in business marketing. And then after I got my undergrad, I went on to get my master's, my MBA in marketing analytics. So you could say very classically trained in marketing. But on the marketing analytics side, it was a lot more about reading the data, trying to find trends between different creatives and click-through rates. And it was kind of back when Facebook was still kind of hacky and you can try to hack your way to success. So that's where I got my background and where I really just started getting intrigued with how can we hack our way to win the system, which isn't really like that as much anymore, as you guys all know, but that's kind of where I started in this world, thinking through that framework.
So with traditional starts, I have a bachelor's in marketing and communications myself, but when I was going to school, I just to pay my rent and everything, I had to take up some terrible jobs that literally the guy, I was doing masonry, physical labor. And I remember the guys telling me, it's keep going to school, Chad. You do not want to end up like me in 30, 40, 50 years. And I was like, yes, no, absolutely. What was one of the jobs that you had before maybe going into school that you just knew I needed to really push through this and make it to that career point?
Oh my God. I've had so many jobs that it's kind of hilarious. So I would say the most odd jobs I had, I was a horseback riding instructor for a while. I was an ice cream scooper. Did ice cream. I worked at a smoothie place. At the smoothie place, I would hand out flyers around town for people to come try the smoothies. That was my first real marketing gig.
Nice.
Probably the one that kind of launched me into social media marketing though, I was working at a clothing boutique. I was 15 years old. This was my first job. And something I told the owner of the shop was, hey, we should really get an Instagram page. And this was 10 years ago. Instagram was just starting. And we started just posting photos of me trying on the different tops, different clothing items, and posting on Instagram. And this was unheard of in its time. I was still trying to explain to them what Instagram was. And we did the same thing on Facebook. And Facebook organic reach 10 years ago was insane.
Completely different.
Oh, for sure. If someone liked your Facebook page, they saw your post every single time. So I would start posting like new arrivals and like me wearing like the new cool jeans.
Nice.
So that was my first real UGC, I guess you
Yeah.
can say. And what kind of led to the next marketing job, to the next marketing internships. So, but that was kind of like where I felt like I was kind of leading the industry at that point.
Yeah, trailblazer with UGC.
Yes.
So when you reference internships, was it with CTC, with Common Thread Collective? Were you an internship to start there, or how did that begin?
No, so when I finally got my job at Common Thread Collective, which is the ad agency, like I was already working at another agency before that. So before I went to Common Thread Collective, where I really learned more about like Facebook ads and more about the media buying side, I was actually interning at another agency that was all organic social. So I would like manage people's Facebook pages, build their Instagram followings. I would run like follow bots. That was like the big thing back then. Like for like, follow
Yeah.
for follow bots on all of these pages to try to get them to grow. So I started there, and then that became like a part-time job while I was working on my degree. And then once I graduated with my MBA, that's when I joined Common Thread to really dive into more of like the media buying, e-commerce side of things.
Nice. Yeah, I just spoke with Nick last week, and he was giving
Nice.
kind of the behind the scenes look at what the kind of structuring was. When you joined Common Thread, what was the size of the agency at that point?
I think it was around 35 people, 35,
Okay.
40. Yeah.
And it's at what, like 60 now, was he saying, or more?
They grew a lot and then they've shrunk back since then. So to put it lightly.
Too many people leaving to start their own agencies.
Yeah, a lot of talent leaving, unfortunately, which I think is a challenge that a lot of agencies are probably seeing, of top performers going off and starting their
Absolutely.
own brands or their own agencies, like Nick as well. So that's always there, but also like layoffs are pretty common with agencies, just not being able to be flexible if a client leaves. So
Right.
so yeah, I think Common Thread's around like 40 people now. I'm not too sure.
For you, what was the entry role? And I believe you grew to one of the lead media buyers, or ran one of the lead media buying teams, wasn't it?
Yeah, so when I applied to Common Thread, I was actually looking for an analyst role. So I really wanted to be in the data, like trying to find the trends. Like I was really into like using like R Studio and all of these different statistical softwares to try to like find trends in marketing data, because that's what I went to school for. So I was really excited to use my degree in the real world. So I applied for that marketing analyst role and I didn't get it. They were basically saying like, like I think you need more e-commerce experience, which is true. I've never really worked at scale, like media buying on e-commerce brands before. So they were like, why don't you come in as a buyer? You can work your way up to an analyst role, but we really think that you would find a lot of value from working on like multiple ad accounts and kind of like seeing it play out that way. So that's how I started out, which was an amazing experience. And I would recommend, if anyone's interested in learning how to media buy, the best way to do it is by working at an agency or brand where they already have established systems. Right. So I was able to come in, learn the media buying philosophy really quickly. A lot of it was from Nick Shackelford. He was one of the managers at the time. So he was doing some crazy stuff back then. Like we would bid for engagement to try to get as many comments as possible. And then we would bid for conversions. Like it was all this hacky stuff that Nick loved. And like $1 ad sets. We would have like 100 different campaigns. Nick was always like trying to find the most like hacky way to do it.
Yeah.
But it was great because I got to work on some really big brands. Like when I first started, in the first 2 months, they handed me the ColourPop account, which was a brand new client. Yeah, and ColourPop was spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars on ads. They're millions in revenue each day. And so what I did is I worked with my ad designer to come up with the ad creatives. I would write the copy and do the media buying. But it kind of like, I guess I kind of learned by just being thrown in. And it worked, and ColourPop was really successful, and I was able to scale that brand for a long time. So I guess my advice there is just learn by doing, and
Yeah.
I kind of just faked it till I made it.
Trial
Faked it
by
till I made
fire.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the only way to learn really quickly.
But so and that was your entry point. How long were you at CTC for? How many years?
Like a year and a half, maybe
A
almost
year and
2
a
years.
half.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the end of it, you were more of a senior role, I believe. I mean, when you spoke at Affiliate World Asia, you were obviously just finishing with Common Thread Collective, but
Yeah.
you grew really
Yeah.
quick, took
So
on a lot
after,
more responsibilities.
yeah, exactly. So after 6 months of doing like media buying and seeing like the success of ColourPop and like Pop Socks and a bunch of other brands I was helping media buy for, they were like, we want you to teach how you do Facebook media buying to the rest of the buyers and kind of lead the media buying teams.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, like I was really curious about testing like CBO and automatic placements. Like I was really in tune with what Facebook was pushing agencies to do and trying out these things on our larger ad accounts. And so I think what made me successful is like I really thought it was important to have a structure to everything. So when I first started at Common Thread, every single buyer was kind of rogue. Everyone had their own structure of doing things. Everyone was just trying random stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, Nick was leading the way, so doing random stuff was kind of the norm. But I found that, like, especially because I was supposed to be hiring like 10 new buyers, like there had to be process and structure.
Absolutely.
You can't just rely on like the Nick intuition to know how to do things.
Unless you have a full team of Nicks, it's not going to work.
Exactly. There's only a few Nicks in the world. And it's really hard to teach what Nick knows.
Yeah.
So that was really important to me, is to come up with like process, structure. And I think that's what's kind of cool about Facebook today, is that it is very structured in the way that you can set up accounts and succeed really quickly. You don't have to have all this hacking knowledge or like years of past experience. So that was really important to me, is to make those new structures. So I led the Facebook teams and then the Snapchat media buying teams, and grew those departments before leaving to start my own thing.
Yeah, which wasn't too soon after. And it's Social Savannah, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Social Savannah. I remember last year when I first knocked on your door for Affiliate World Asia, and you had made that one post about CDO in like Facebook ad buyers, and it was such a statement. And you never know with these Facebook groups, when you say something like that, it could go either way, and especially
alive.
Oh, absolutely. And unfortunately, given the industry, like predominantly male, also female coming in and saying, you know what, this is what I think, and this is what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah.
This will how to play out. The support behind you was incredible. Do you want to just reiterate the statement that you had made and which month it was, I believe?
Yeah, so I think it was probably like October. So maybe even September. And I made a statement. I was like, is a robot going to take your job? CBO is going to be like the new norm. It's not about like hacking your way to success. Like, I think that if you just let CBO machine learning do its thing, it can outbeat any of your media buying tactics. Is anyone up for the challenge to go against like the machine to see if you're smarter than it? And there was a ton of people who were like, I could destroy CBO. So it was awesome. I love riling people up, whether it's on ad buyers or Twitter.
And predominantly I thought it was positive. There was a lot of positivity behind it, and CBO wasn't like new, like it wasn't fresh off the press, but that was one of your first really big public statements, in my opinion, that got a lot of traction, and you know, a lot of people were on board. A lot of people, as it is, it's always going to be split down the board, but then we discussed, let's put this on stage. Let's actually do an experiment. And I'm pretty sure I told you, but it was voted the top presentation at Affiliate World Asia.
Really? That's amazing.
And that's afterwards too. After you make your spiel of what you believe, these are the tests, these are the outcomes, and then they voted, and yours was it was very close. I think it was either Nick or Anthony Sarandrea. Actually, you were
I'm
first.
on really good company then.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was such a statement. It was so true, and it got a lot of people talking. and a lot of people spending a little bit more attention towards creatives, and that's where I think you've just really shone. Remember when I messaged you like a month or two ago? I'm like, is this you in an ad? And it was just like I felt like it was just your
Yep.
voice, and it was like remote.
Yeah, it was remote year. It was like with like the things going above my head.
Yeah. And from last year, I was traveling all over Latin America, so I was retargeted like crazy off some. I'm probably subscribed to
Nice.
something, and that popped up, and I'm like, Savannah, you're always after it.
I love that. I love that.
So why don't we pivot towards creatives, because I think that is where you really have shown over the last little while, and why don't you just kind of take me through your thought process and the amount of time that you spend on creatives versus ad buying now, thanks to CBO. Like, how do you approach your clients in that sense?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely the most important component, along with like landing page and offer. Like that's a lot of what creates success. But from what you can actually do on the Facebook side, it all comes down to creative testing. So like I said, I keep my structure really simple on Facebook. Like I have like my dynamic creative tests going on. I have some retargeting campaigns, but a lot of my attention is creative rotation through prospecting. So how can we test different messaging strategies, different ad formats, whether it's carousels, IG stories, long form video, short form video, especially for these brands that are spending like $10,000 a day. Creative fatigue happens very fast, and each creative is going to unlock a different portion of the broad audience. So that's why it's really important to be constantly testing these new messaging strategies to try to unlock more audiences. So I would say it's like 99.9999% of my attention. And then the other 1% is just like quickly building out the ads and then reporting on them. So
when you launch a new client, how many creatives are you launching with? How many different formats, and each day, how many new creatives are you launching?
Yeah, so when I launch a new client, me and my designer, we try to do like a big toolkit, we call it, of creatives. So we'll test like one of each different type. So we'll test like an IG story, a few different versions, a few like GIFs, stills, lifestyle videos, product on white. So we try to like cover our bases for like PR, customer reviews, UGC. So there's probably like 10 key ad types that we like to test when we first start out with clients. So my ad designer, Lauren, she was actually the one that worked with me at Common Thread. So we worked together on the ColourPop account, Love Wellness, Kula, APL. So we already had a groove of like me doing the media buying. She was giving me new creatives each week. Now she's joined me on my team, and we're doing so it's the same thing I've been doing for 2 years. She's been working with e-commerce for the last 15 years doing ad design. So I'm really lucky to have her working with me on my clients. So essentially, we'll dig through their ad library. What are they already running? What are their competitors running? Dig through their ad libraries, come up with different messaging strategies. And then she's just a pro at the execution side. So she's kind of like the art behind it, where I'm trying to be more of like the brains and like analyzing the data and then using that to inform future creative. So it's definitely a team effort in that way.
It's amazing to have that resource on hand, and for you to already have had this, your formula ironed out prior. For listeners who might not have potentially the budget to be able to produce this much, that many creatives, is there an approach to this style where you can kind of just produce two and then just chop it up for the different ad formats? Like, what do you suggest there with people on like a little bit tighter wallet?
I would say it's never been easier, especially on a budget, in terms of actually like creating the ads. So I'm sure you guys know like UGC is just like outperforming most of everyone's ads right now. Like when you're scrolling through Instagram stories and feeds, you see a lot of people just filming themselves with their iPhone, talking about the product, or even just like an iPhone video of them using the product. So it's not about having like these big studio shoots and all this video footage, and you need all these different lifestyle shoots, test all these angles. Like when you think about launching a toolkit of creatives, this can just be 5 different people talking about the product, and each different person talking about a different value prop for a messaging strategy. So you can create a lot of creatives and a big volume of it just with your iPhone, just you filming. your products and testing different copy variations on top. So I would say it shouldn't be a limit of your budget for making new creatives. It's more of a limit of time. So if you have time all day to be filming with your iPhone and making boomerangs and cool stuff, and you're going to have a ton of stuff to test in your account, and you're never going to run low on new footage.
Does UGC work particularly well with particular clients versus others? Like, or do you find that it's just works across the board? Like, how does that apply to different e-commerce clients or clients outside of e-commerce potentially?
Yeah, so I kind of think about like just like the principles of marketing, kind of going back to like some of the classes I've taken.
The 4 or 5 Ps.
Yes.
Price, product, packaging. No.
Yeah, no, Porter's 5 forces or something. Or even just like if you think about like infomercials or like TV commercials, there's always someone on TV saying, I tried this and this was awesome. Like, or like, we loved this. Like it's on like every infomercial for like last 20 years. So this is like a marketing principle that has continued to work well. Like on a commercial, they don't just show like a product on white photo with the offer. Like they're showing like a family using it in their house and like a bunch of different people talking about it. Now back then it was actors. In 2020, now it's influencers or like people just filming themselves. So it's just taking those same principles of people want to know that this is a good product and it's not fake and that people get value out of it. And so you have to show real people using it in that situation. So it's just a different medium now. Instead of it on an infomercial of someone talking about this cool lotion, now it's just an influencer filming herself with an iPhone talking about a cool lotion. So same principles, different medium. That's how I like to think of it.
Now, do you always, I mean, I know that you do a lot of the content yourself. You don't always have to do influencers. Do you just have, is there kind of a platform where you can access people to do UGC, or do you just have your friends help you?
I guess I'm kind of a lucky certain scenario. Like I was in a sorority, so I have a lot of 20-something friends that I can give products to for free, and are happy to film stuff for me. So a bit more of a
be a little side hustle. Yeah.
Exactly. I've made so many of my friends into UGC queens, and they love it. So I would say tapping into your existing network of just like friends and family, that's a great place to start. Beyond that, I like to just search through Instagram, like search hashtags, people who are following certain brands. I don't use any platforms for influencer sourcing. I just do it straight from like discovery. So who's following what profiles, messaging people, even if they have like 5 to 10K followers. Those are usually the people who are going to do posts for free and actually put a lot more time and effort into the content. Where I'm starting to source now for more influencers is on TikTok. So TikTok's an amazing discovery platform because you can just scroll through your For You page and find really great content creators. Some of these people have less than 5,000 followers right now, but you can see from their TikToks that like they're comfortable talking to the camera, they're not shy, and they'd probably be stoked to be sent your makeup to do the UGC. So I've had a lot of success of reaching out to people directly through TikTok as well, and I would highly recommend that strategy if you have like a health beauty product, apparel, accessories. Like those are great products to push on TikTok influencers.
Yeah, TikTok could be a goldmine for UGC content. Anyone just excited for the extra publicity. So I told you I had something exciting I wanted to try with you. I want you to run through how you coach your sorority sisters or anyone on TikTok how to approach generating your own content, because I'd like to try it with you live on Conversations with the Marketer.
I cannot wait. So I would say there's a few key principles to great UGC. The first of them is keeping it under 15 seconds.
Under 15 seconds.
Yes, which is way harder said than done. You will find that out really quickly. And then in terms of like what the script should be, I always like to start with a question. So if we're doing like an eyelash serum, like maybe the intro question is, who wants longer eyelashes? I do. I discovered 4 lash eye serum and I grew my lashes in 2 weeks. Swipe up to find out more. There's your script. So starting with the question.
Too easy. Okay.
I know. Identifying the problem, saying the solution. So yeah, either starting with the question or starting with the problem. Like, do you hate your dog's disgusting dry food? That's why I switched to whatever. I don't really know. um, and
15
then
seconds is a hard deadline.
it is.
Timer.
You will see that it's really hard. And then also ending with the call to action. So the last like
Okay,
2 seconds of your entire script needs to be like swipe up to learn more, swipe up to shop.
Okay.
So you really have only really 10 seconds. Identify the problem or ask a question, present the product as a solution, encourage people to swipe up to learn more.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna try this with you.
Okay, I can't wait.
Okay, give me a second. I figured I'm actually in love with this product, but it's actually a ripoff of the real one. Roost. Do you use a laptop stand?
No.
So this is the product.
Sweet. Oh, that is
I
cool.
love it. I can literally spend a minute talking about all of the features that I actually do love. But I won't because I have 15 seconds. So are you going to time me? Okay. Starting with a question. All right. Do you work from home and are you always finding it like you have a really shitty posture? Well, the Roost can actually fix that because it props the laptop up in no time and you can swipe up now to get your free trial. Damn it. 15 seconds.
That
Yeah,
was
that's
great.
tough.
You know?
That's tough.
That was a great first take. You'll probably need about 20 more and you'll nail it.
Yeah. I love this thing though. When I was traveling last year, I had to basically live pretty limited with my portable office, and that thing just props up and it just literally pushes your head back so you don't find yourself hunched over all the time.
Yep.
Oh, it's incredible.
I think I need to get one. That would be awesome for traveling.
I'll send you my affiliate link.
Thanks very much.
Awesome. So I know that you had a little bit of the crystal ball with UGC, but for the rest of this year, what's it looking like? What are you feeling? I know you said you kind of just go with what Facebook says, and you can understand based off of what they're kind of pushing at the moment, what to get on board with. Is there any other signals that are telling you right now this is where I should potentially be looking towards? Or maybe it's just TikTok and Snapchat and how you kind of shifted for traffic. But like, are you feeling anything right now? What is your intuition saying?
Yeah, so something that I've been testing a lot and seeing success with, which I don't really know if this is like Facebook's not necessarily pushing this, but something that a lot of marketers are talking about is just broad targeting, which kind of goes into Facebook's whole like let the machine do it. Don't touch what we're doing. Just let us figure it out. So doing dynamic creative testing, which I know we talked a lot about at Affiliate World Asia, paired with broad targeting, I'm seeing a lot of great results. So completely letting Facebook choose who to serve the ad to and just doing those dynamic creative tests each week to refresh creative and copy. So I wouldn't say this is necessarily like I'm on the edge of something new. It's something that not a lot of people are doing. I still out a ton of accounts and people are separating ad set like 18 to 20, 20 to 24 age, like baseball interests versus sports interests. But like the top advertisers who are really seeing success are just relying off the algorithm. So broad audiences, worldwide targeting, like broad interests of like 10 million plus, big lookalike audiences. So I would say most of the top marketers I talk to like aren't even really thinking about targeting anymore. They're like, I haven't thought about targeting in 6 months. I kind of just have my audiences there and I'm refreshing creative. While the top marketers I'm talking to are focusing more on landing page optimization, testing different conversion funnels, different upsells. And I think that the marketers who are spending more time on those activities, so focusing on creative, landing page conversion rate, your offer, are going to have a lot more success than the marketers who are just separating out different audiences by age, but not tweaking the creative or the offer as much. So that's what I'm seeing in the industry. And I think the top marketers are following suit.
For sure. I mean, wouldn't you say it's easier to approach it that way with like bigger budgets though? What if people are working with smaller budgets and they don't have the ability, time, or money to feed the system or buy the data? Like, wouldn't you say, like, what kind of budget do you suggest if you're going to go broad out the gate?
Yeah, so I find broad works best if you're spending at least $1,000 a day on ads. So And also like assuming that there's not any like real targeting parameters. So if your product's only targeting moms, then yes, you're going to need to have some targeting that says that you're a mom. It's not going to work if you're sending this to a 13-year-old boy in Pakistan, or if you only ship to US, like then you can't go worldwide. So there's going to be obvious things that are going to be pertinent to your brand. In terms of like smaller budgets, that is very real. Like if you only have a couple $100s to play with a day, Facebook has absolutely no data on who your ideal target audience is, then it makes a lot more sense to be having to tell Facebook very specifically, my person is 20 years old, living in Alabama, who buys shoes. However, I do think that people graduate out of that phase probably more quickly than they realize. They think, oh, I still need to be doing this like small targeting, but really you could actually be getting better results if you just brought it up to your interest a bit, let Facebook test their algorithm on more people, and let machine learning work a little bit harder. So I would say people, especially when they're starting to see good results on a small budget, they get like a little bit more afraid of like releasing control. But I found for at least my accounts, ones that we've started with only a couple $100 spend, up to 500, up to 1,000, up to 5,000, every single like step up in budget, we're broadening the audience more and more to let the algorithm kick in and do its thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a happy medium of edging in towards the bigger budgets, especially when you're already seeing results. With given the climate right now, like I've seen some posts with ad buyers saying like just telling their clients like let's double down. It's like that day after day in e-commerce. Everyone, I mean, I can't remember I think it was Shopify explaining that they were seeing Black Friday days on a regular basis at this point.
Yep.
What have you been noticing with your clients?
Yeah, so a bit of both. I would say a lot of my clients are actually doing better than before coronavirus hit. So that's a huge blessing. I do have a client that had to completely pause all ad spend because they were a luxury briefcase. So luxury items mixed with briefcase for work isn't going to be an industry that does well right now. So it is product specific, but most people are taking advantage of the cheaper traffic. If they already had creative and an offer and a product that was working well before, now with the cheaper traffic, they're able to get more people in the funnel cheaply, and people are still spending. Last Wednesday was like stimulus day, and I think that's going to go down in history.
That's right.
Yeah, that was like the biggest jump in ROAS for like a lot of my clients and spend was last Wednesday. So I think also
stimulus day.
Yeah, no, that's literally going to be like the new Black Friday. It was like, do you remember stimulus day? But I would say looking forward, cheaper traffic sources like Snapchat, I've seen a lot of success with, and I'm actually seeing a lot of my clients move more budget away from Facebook and towards Snapchat ads, which is a cool trend to see that algorithm is working really well and people are able to get good results on Snap ads.
And how about TikTok? Have you been testing anything with TikTok?
So I just got on the beta as of last week. So I've been a bit like slow to join for a couple reasons. From the advertisers that I know are on it, they say that conversion tracking is pretty terrible. And there's just a lot of like setup issues and like getting a line of credit. Like if it's very difficult to join the system and to get things going and to be able to track conversions properly, especially when you're running on multiple channels. Like if you're already running on Facebook, Google, Snapchat, like I've just heard, like, this is just anecdotally from the people I know who are already spending on TikTok. They're saying like, just kind of wait, like they're working through some issues. Once conversion tracking gets a bit better, once the Shopify integration gets a bit better. So I'm hoping in the next couple months I can kind of join that train, but it just seems like it's been a little bit rocky. I don't know if you've heard similar stuff, but that's just from people I've talked to.
Yeah, no, I think Nick and I were chatting about it too, and it seemed like it was a little tough to penetrate. But no, it wasn't Nick. But we were laughing about how that was how Facebook was initially. I know a lot of traffic source or traffic platforms can get like that, and that's when people find little loopholes, and you can kind of take advantage of the stage it is at and look for that. But it's not always something that you can bank on. With Snapchat, I think I just saw recently that you were doing a course on Snapchat. Oh,
I don't know. It's not really a course. I've kind of just been releasing videos on my YouTube channel and on my
mhm.
Twitter, like teaching people how. So I'm a Snap partner now, which
Ooh.
means that I can give away $1,000 in free ad credits. So
Oh,
I'll pop you the link if you want to pop it in the description.
nice one.
For the link for the $1,000 of free ad credits for new advertisers. So
Amazing.
that's a really good offer. Would definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Savannah, I do want to be mindful of the time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we say goodbye?
I would just say that like keep watching Affiliate World videos. The people in my industry, like, no, seriously, like top marketers, like always refer to this channel about, and the people who are speaking on here as like the people who are like on the forefront of the industry. So I'm only a small part of it, like in terms of like the Facebook ads and the creative side, but I know that a lot of the speakers that are coming on here and a lot of the videos on your channel are really on like the cutting edge of the latest trends. So if you made it to the end of this video, I would say congrats. You're learning the best material there is out there from top marketers. And the more you consume this type of content and it's free, it's like just take advantage of it while you have the time now if you do. So
I really appreciate that. We all do. Yeah, the biggest part there is free. Like, there's a lot of courses out there that they're just part of the lead funnels, or there's a lot of subscription models to get onto platforms. But we like to keep everything free and keep everyone progressing and moving in the right direction. And from amazing marketers like yourself teaching us along the way. So I thank you, Savannah, for your time, and appreciate the generosity that you have with all the learning and knowledge that you have. And can't wait to see what's next for you in 2020.
thanks, Chad. I'm excited to keep following along. And thanks for having me on today.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.